Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know of all the board games launching on Kickstarter and Gamefound over the next week. If you're new to the channel, we do this every week going over all the upcoming campaigns, and this is the first week of the year. Things do always slow down during the month of December, and they are still pretty slow right now, but they will be picking up really quick. I already have 27 games for the month of January, and there's only going to be more added to the mix. This week we don't really have close to that many, and I'll come back to that in a second here. But before we jump into this week's video, I did just want to mention that I did post a couple special videos over the holiday going over some upcoming campaigns for 2024, specifically the ones that I am anticipating the most, as well as mentioning a few that I think a lot of you might be excited about. And I actually posted two different videos, so there's part 1 and 2. You can check them out on the channel, but I'll also leave a link to them in the description below. And I did also post a couple other videos if you're interested in checking them out. But as usual, I do like to start these episodes just letting you know that you can check out Board Game Co. because I do these videos every single week. But Alex over at Board Game Co. does a video at the start of each month going over the entire month and letting you know of the heavy hitters and the games that we know about so far so that you can see a little bit more into the future. Like I said, we do have 27 games so far, and Alex and I do work together to keep track of all these, and I did already pass my list off to him, and he'll add whatever he has as well. But that video is going to be going up real soon. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below if you do want to check it out. But if you're looking for even more games, specifically war games, or more specifically historical simulations, you'll definitely want to check out Zilla Blitz because him and I do also combine our lists together, and his channel covers specifically historical simulations, so he does a better job at these games than I do, so I just let him handle those. I'll still mention them and give them a quick overview, but if you want to go into more details, as well as gain exposure to even more games, because there are actually other platforms that I don't track that are specifically offering these style of games that Mike will provide. So if you're interested in that, you can find a link to his channel in the description below. And he also puts that video up every single month, so you can expect the one for January very soon. But that's it for an intro, and I didn't want to spoil this at the beginning of the video, but we actually only have one game launching this week that I'm aware of so far. So let's check it out. And the game that we have launching this week is going to be launching on the 2nd, and this one is called The Last Lighthouse. And this is a solo game that takes just about 10 minutes to play, and this one is offered by Button Shy Games, but it's also designed by Scott Almes, both of which have a lot of experience making these pocket-sized games. And there are a couple cool things I want to say about this one because they did actually send me a prototype copy of the game. And even though this is a prototype, the artwork looks amazing, and I imagine it's going to look very similar to this in the final release, but as always, it is subject to change. But the other cool thing I want to show you, which is actually perfect for this situation, is that I have installed a new camera. And I know my playmat's upside down and my cable management is non-existent, but I did just set this up about 10 minutes ago, so this is what we got. And the camera is advertised as a 4K camera, so hopefully I can zoom in a little bit here and you can see the cards a little bit better. But I think this should work well to explain a little bit about how this game plays, because this is a solo game where you're going to be going against the deck of cards. The way that the game starts is that you're going to be putting your lighthouse out on the table, and then you're just going to be using this to track your health throughout the game. You start the game with 5 health, and then you're going to be dealing out a few cards beside the lighthouse. Each of these cards are dual use. You're going to be putting 4 out to start the game, and you're going to be putting them with the monster side up. Each of these cards also does have a monster ability that can be triggered by a specific event. For the cards in the base game, this is either when the card is placed or when the card is defeated. But you don't have to worry about them right now because they are ignored when you first set up the game. You'll then be dealing a number of cards into your own hand depending on how difficult you want the game to be. For the normal mode, you're going to be dealing 5 cards to yourself, but you can deal less if you want to make it more difficult. But like I said, these cards are dual use, and when you're holding them in your hand, you're going to be holding them so that the monster side is down. When the cards are in this configuration, they're known as traps, and you can use these to attack the monsters that are out in play. The game starts on the player's turn, and on your turn you get to take 2 actions, and the 2 different actions that you can perform are to either play a card from your hand anywhere into this row of cards, or instead you can attack with the cards that you have already deployed. And the way that these cards actually work is that you'll notice there are a number of skulls at the top, and then there's also numbers on each side of the skull. The skull just represents their health. Each card in this game only does 1 damage, including the ones in your hand, and then those numbers indicate how far those monsters can reach when they do attack. And this works exactly the same for the trap cards, but if I use an action to put a card out into play, An interesting thing here is that just with the way that these were dealt, 3 different monsters can attack me. So for example, right now, this one can attack 2 to the left, which I am within range. This one can attack 1 to the right, and this one can attack 3 to the right. So I'm in range of those 3 monsters. This one can only attack 2 to the right, so it can't quite reach my monster, but I only have 3 health, and since 3 can hit me, that means that I will be destroyed when it is the monster's turn. Well, of course, unless I'm able to change the situation. And there's a couple ways I could do this. I could go ahead and play another card into the row as my second action. And when I do this, now I only have 2 monsters in range of this card, but I still have 3 in range of this one. But that's not exactly what I'm going to be doing, because we do also have these special abilities here as well. And this one says that I can move a monster to any location in the row when I play this card. So if I were to play this one to the right, and then I use the ability to move this card wherever I want. I can move it over here to make it out of range. Now I only have 1 monster that's able to reach me, and since I have 3 health, that is not enough to eliminate my card. This is generally a good thing, except for the monsters are always going to be attacking from right to left, and they're going to continue trying to attack until they're able to. And since they're not able to defeat this card, then they're going to be moving to the next leftmost card, which would then be the lighthouse. Unfortunately, a lot of these cards are in range of the lighthouse, so instead of me losing the card, I'd be losing health to my lighthouse, which I don't want to happen. So what I'll do instead is I will play a card basically as a sacrifice so that it gets attacked instead of my lighthouse. So I'll just go ahead and place this card right here. And the reason I chose this one is because when it's defeated, I can immediately replace it with a new trap. And those are my 2 actions. So now we're going to be moving into the monsters phase. And what we do here is just draw a new card, put it out at the end of the row. And this one has an ability that gets activated when it's placed. So this is going to tell me to add an additional nightmare from the deck. And because of that, I'm going to be adding 2 cards for this turn. And like I said, the monsters will try to attack me, but after you've drawn the card and resolved any of these effects, you're always going to check if there are more than 3 monster cards out in the row. And in this case, there are quite a bit more than 3, and what that means is that my lighthouse is going to be losing 1 health. This is one of the reasons why it's really important to make sure that you're not being overrun by a whole ton of monsters. But now the monsters are going to try to attack, and they're always going to attack from right to left. So first we check this. It has 3 health. Is there at least 3 monsters that are able to attack it? And in this case, this one's able to attack it, but that is the only one. So that one's safe. Then we look at this one. There is at least 1 monster able to attack it, so this one is defeated, and it goes into the discard. As soon as the monsters successfully attack, their turn ends immediately, but this card did have the ability that I can immediately swap it with another card when it is defeated, so I can just go ahead and do that now. So I'll just go ahead and play this card here, and now it goes back to my turn, and I get my 2 actions. And for my first action, I'm going to be playing this card into this place, and it has a range of 4 to the left, and it also gains me a free attack action when I place the card. This works out well for me because this one is within range of at least 2 of my cards, and it has 2 health, which means that I can use that free action to defeat this monster. Now the cool thing here is that when you do defeat a monster, this card actually becomes a trap and it goes into your hand. Everything can just slide over, and I still do have 1 more action that I can perform. And I am able to defeat another monster, so I'll just go ahead and do that and destroy this monster, adding that card to my hand and preparing me for the next round. And that's pretty much everything you need to know to play this game, because the game just continues like this until either your lighthouse runs out of health or until you have defeated all the monsters. If you're interested in this one, I will have a link to the campaign in the description below, and if you are interested to know what I think about it after having played it myself, I really like this one. I've probably played it about 10 times now. The game does have enough variability with the different cards all having a unique special ability associated with them, and since you're putting some out at the beginning of the game, and some of them are going to get burned with different effects, it's going to change the ones that you have access to from game to game, which is the way that most of the variability is introduced in this game. But I would like to see a bit more variability added, which I expect will be offered in the campaign if they're adding any mini expansions or additional cards that you can swap in. As always, when you are drawing cards from the deck, there is that randomness of which cards you draw, and it is possible that you might just end up drawing certain cards that are just really, really bad for you, or conversely, really, really good for you. This can make the difficulty swing a little bit when you're playing on a given difficulty. I personally really didn't see this as an issue, but I just want to let you know that it is there. So if you are choosing a difficulty, there is a little bit of a range there depending on the cards that you draw, which could make it a little bit harder or a little bit easier than your average play on that difficulty. It's a lot of fun. I love the theme, I love the artwork, and I love how easy it is to play, and there was never a time where I felt like it was fiddly in any way. So if those all sound like things that you might be interested in, like I said, it is linked in the description below. That's pretty much it for this episode, but if you're looking for more content, like I said, I did put together a couple lists going into some of the exciting games that are going to be coming in 2024, and you can check that out, and I'll leave that linked in the description below. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full. Oh.